Our gathering hymn this morning is number 118 in the gray hymnal, or it will be up on the slide above you. What wondrous love is this? Please rise in body or spirit. What wondrous love is this, oh my soul, oh my soul. What wondrous love is this, oh my soul. What wondrous love is this that brings my heart such bliss and takes away the pain of my soul, and takes away the pain of my soul. When I was sinking down, sinking down, sinking down, when I was sinking down, sinking down, when I was sinking down beneath my sorrow's ground, friends to me gathered round. Oh my soul, friends to me gathered round. Oh my soul. To love and to all friends I will sing, I will sing. To love and to all friends I will sing. To love and to all friends who pain and sorrow mend, with thanks unto the end, I will sing, I will sing. With thanks unto the end, I will sing.
Good morning. You guys are such good singers. That's a lovely song, isn't it? I just really love that one. So I was at a coffee shop this week, and a guy came up to me, and he said, "Are you Eric Clapton?" And I had thought that my cover would keep, but it's finally been blown. So you should know that I'm really Eric Clapton. I've been pretending to be your minister for a long time here, but it's fun. I like doing it. No, seriously, that was fun. I was ready to give him my autograph, but he didn't want it. So when he found out I really wasn't Eric Clapton. This is a good place where we can come and where we can laugh too. But it's also a place where we can come if we're having a hard time in our lives, and we can cry if we want. You could actually come here, and if you were feeling bad, we declared this in a ceremony a couple of years ago, a free cry zone. If you're actually just overwhelmed by life, you'd come here and you start crying, we would think it's a normal thing, because everybody has heavy burdens on their heart at one time or another. Today's service, we're focusing on our Lifelines Lay Ministry, which really lifts up this need that we have to support one another. So I think that's a beautiful thing. I kind of hung out in my office. I'm not hugging anybody today. I'm not shaking any hands. I'm not mad at you. I've got conjunctivitis, pink eye, so I'm not going to have contact with you today, physical contact, and I will be, leaving pretty quickly after the service. But I did really want to be here, but I did not want to give you conjunctivitis. So anyway, just that explains why no hugs is probably a good idea today. But next week I'll probably be better. So I think that's it. Welcome. Thank you all for coming. I was going to have you all shake hands, but today I feel a little... Why don't you just turn and say hi to one another and just say hello. This is a friendly place. Welcome to this friendly place.
An affirmation is a promise. It's an oath given to others, letting them know that you will help in times of need, that you will uphold the shared goals and purposes. If you feel comfortable doing so, please join me in speaking our joint affirmation aloud. Love is our doctrine. Compassion is our way. Here we seek to create a joyful home for free religious exploration. Build a community of caring fellowship, nurture the hopes, and serve the needs of our world.
Waiting for the picture of my God, Sergei Rachmaninoff. I can't help myself with this. I've played a few of these etudes before. I'm sure a lot of you know the word etude means study. But it's a completely different kind of study in the cases of these etude tableaux. Rachmaninoff, and this is very late Rachmaninoff, by the way, and much darker than the second piano concerto that a couple of you might be familiar with. He was inspired in this, as he was in some of his earlier pieces, by looking at paintings, and something that really hit the core in some way. He wrote an etude about that. So it's more an etude not of your fingers, but an etude of trying to depict something that was depicted visually in music. Right? This first one is very dramatic. I actually found a picture. He did not let anybody know what the pictures were. That he was there is one, but it's not one of the ones I'm playing. So this is the Opus 39 etude. There are 9 of them. I'm playing numbers 2 and 3, but I'm doing 3 first. That's the big guns that goes by in 3 minutes. I also wanted to say this because I keep thinking this when I'm playing it. This etude, if I play it all right, this etude has so many universes in that little 3 minutes. It's got a structure that's like a large symphony, and the themes are structured the way a Beethoven symphony would be. You hear the same themes over and over and over again in the left hand and the right hand, but the music is completely transformed from moment to moment. The beautiful slow theme is as gorgeous as any momentary romantic gushing Rachmaninoff, and the dramatic is as huge and flashy as the big Rachmaninoff. Both of these pieces are in a minor key, and both of them are very dark in some way. This is dramatic. Just made the service longer. Sorry.
Here at UUCS to light 3 chalices as we begin our Sunday service every week. We light the first chalice for our members, our friends, and our guests, all of you gathered here and all the people who are watching us online. Our next chalice is for our partner church, which is located in Šimenfalva, Transylvania, Romania. And we light our lantern for the children and youth, both those who are going to be in our religious exploration program today and children everywhere. May these chalices remind us that ours is a shared journey. May we share their light and warmth so that we can bring joy and comfort to others. The flame of our chalice is a symbol of welcome, of compassion, and of a love greater than ourselves. Please join me in singing the flame into life.
Rise up, O flame, by thy light glowing, show to us beauty, vision, and joy.
Good morning. Can I please have everyone young and young at heart come up front with me? Hi, you guys. Welcome. I'm going to come down here. Can you guys see the pictures up behind me on the screen, on the wall? Yeah? Okay, I'm going to read you this book. It is called Elmore. It is about a porcupine. Elmore lived by himself in an ancient maple tree. He loved it there. Every few days, he would climb down the huge tree trunk as darkness fell to graze on his favorite leaves and twigs. Then back he would go to his snug hollow in the ancient tree. Elmore was solitary. He lived alone. And you would think he'd be used to that by now. But here's the thing. He often felt lonely. Solitude could be very boring. He'd always have trouble making friends. What was the problem? After all, the L in Elmore's name, his mother once explained, stood for love. He put up a sign. What does that sign say? Can you guys see it? Friends wanted. He was discouraged by what he overheard. He's too prickly. It's hard to be around him. Elmore shook his back and his quills rattled. It was true. If you got too close, you might get needled, nettled, prickled. Elmore didn't mean it. It just happened. He spent a rainy day holed up in the ancient tree thinking about what to do. What could be done about his troublesome quills? They were to protect him like a coat of armor. But protect him from what? Elmore's life was peaceful. He was lucky. The next day, his old uncle happened to come shuffling along past Elmore's tree. "Good morning, Elmore." A moment later, he said, "You don't seem your usual cheerful self. Is something wrong?" "I wish I didn't have all these quills," Elmore explained. "I'm too hard to be around. I have no friends." "I'm your friend," his uncle smiled. "That's different," Elmore replied. "But you are a porcupine," his uncle stated empathetically. "You wouldn't be a porcupine without your quills." "I know," said Elmore. "I've got hundreds and thousands of them." "You're a handsome porcupine," his uncle added. "Your quills are beautiful. You should treasure them." His uncle's kind words made Elmore feel better. Then he looked at the many quills scattered about his cozy dwelling. He had an idea. Elmore tied up each small cluster of quills with a bit of string. He posted another sign. Do you guys see what that sign says? What does it say? giving away free quills. Oh my goodness. For 2 days, they went like hotcakes. Everyone could enjoy a quill pen, especially if it was made from 100% real porcupine quills. And free, too. They could make ink from berries, Elmore suggested, which was extra fun. Everyone loves getting a note from a friend, he said as he handed out all of the bundles. By the time the last quill pens were gone, Elmore was tuckered out. But most of all, he was happy. In the days that followed, he received all kinds of notes. It was exciting. We love our quill pens. This is a picture of us. Let's be pen pals. One bright morning after the quill event, there was a big sign tacked to the trunk of Elmore's tree. You are a beautiful porcupine. Our woods are lucky to have you, your friends. Do your friends make you guys feel better? Yeah? Do you guys ever have a day where you feel sad or lonely? Yeah? And just something that doesn't feel fair. Maybe your parents told you you can't have candy. Or that doesn't happen. It never happens. Or maybe a friend was mean. Or maybe a teacher said something that made you feel sad. Does anything like that ever happen to you guys? Yeah? When those things happen, do you guys have friends you can talk to? Yeah? Do they make you feel better? So I'm in this group. It's called Lifelines. And I want you guys to know that we're here to be kind of friends. We want to help people feel better. And that includes you guys and your siblings, your brothers and sisters, and your parents. And we probably can't fix things. Like I can't make your parents give you candy. But we can listen, and maybe sometimes that's helpful. And we also have other special friends up here. Do you guys see these special friends over here? These are Ricky and Squeak, and I think that my friends up here want to tell you guys about their friends.
We're here because it's really important to care about people and to kind of look out for each other, and Squeak just loves being around people.
So both Ricky, who's a golden retriever, and Squeak, who's obviously a kitty cat, go to some of the same places to help people feel better. We go to the hospital. We go to visit people who are at the end of their life, who only have a few days or a few weeks to live. And we go to nursing homes, and we go to elementary schools. And when we meet people in the hall and we say, "How's your day?" and they've been hugging and talking to Ricky or Squeak, you know what their answer is? Better now.
And so Ricky and Squeak come to church with us sometimes. And so if you're ever having a bad day, and you see them, you can even give them a pet. And like they said, it'll probably make you feel better. Now, I have some birthday cards. Let me see here. Okay, is Maya here today? Or Chloe? What about Roland? No. I know that some of you guys are here, or a couple, well, at least one or two. Beasley? No. Scarlett? Joey! I knew Joey was here. Yay. And where's Lily's? I know I have Lily's here too. Lily? Oh, I gave you two. There's Lily's. I'm there. And does anyone else have a birthday? Because I have some blank ones. So remember that when it's your birthday, you should come. The first Sunday of the month, I'm going to give out birthday cards. And it's a way of saying thank you for coming to church. And we are very happy to have you guys here. And with that, can we make the love arch?
Wherever you walk, walk in love. Wherever you walk, walk in peace. Wherever you walk, walk in beauty all around you. Our hearts
love those animal therapists. That's a wonderful thing. Thanks for the wonderful story, Annie. It's been about a quarter of a century now since Herb, he was a member here, invited me to lunch in his small apartment in North Salem. He was very insistent about setting up this date as soon as possible, so I knew something was up. Herb was a small gay man in his 60s, and I had gotten to know him a bit, and I was glad that he was part of our community. He gave a lot and received a lot here. To be honest, I did think he was ill-suited to be a Sunday morning greeter, since he didn't seem to know how to smile, and he had a gruff exterior concealing his heart of gold. But that was a small matter. Something that did matter was on his mind, which prompted him to ask me a question, which caught me flat-footed. He told me that he was about to have surgery, and he asked me if we would pray for him during the Sunday before in the Sunday worship before his surgery. Now, ever since my student days in the ministry, I've often been asked to pray for people in distress, and I'm always glad to do this. But I've never been asked to pray for somebody before the entire congregation in the middle of a worship service. And this is not exactly something that Unitarian Universalists, some of whom pray and some of whom don't pray, we're not accustomed to doing that in the middle of our worship services. But even so, I never hesitated to say that we would do this because I would not ignore such a plea. I just needed to figure out how to make it happen. So the next Sunday, near the end of the service, I said at the end of the service, after the service is over, that I told the congregation that I would be offering our dear friend Herb a prayer before his surgery. We'd be meeting over there. All that stuff was not there, the all tech stuff, and we met over there, and that we'd be meeting over there to offer him a prayer. Once people had gathered around us, it was after the worship service, but it was right immediately afterwards. And once people had gathered around us, I placed my hands on Herb's shoulders, and I prayed extemporaneously. Such prayers follow a natural rhythm, and I was guided by my awareness of what I wanted and needed to say, that all of us around Herb were sending him our love, and I prayed that he might also be aware of inner sources of spiritual strength and peace that could sustain him through this hard time. And afterwards, I put this out of my mind. We had done the prayer, over and done with, that's over. I had no clue. Next week, hard news came from Portland. Herb wasn't doing well. And when I saw him, he was unconscious, and he was strapped up to more tubes and wires than I think I've ever seen a human body wrapped up in. And it was the last time I saw him. He died a day or two later. Since he had no next of kin, our director of religious education, Millie Rochester, and I, we stepped in to help the folks at the Veterans Hospital settle his affairs, so we drove up there that day. Neither of us expected to hear any good news that day, but we did. As we talked to the various staff, the hospital staff, we talked to the nurses and the chaplain and the doctor, all of whom had gotten to know Herb during his stay. All of them mentioned the one thing that he had mentioned to them all over and over again, more than once, and that was the prayer that we did over there. Herb told them how we had surrounded him and prayed and showed our love to him. And he told them this, I think, because I think this was his way of saying, you see, I am a worthy person, worthy of love and respect and compassion, because that congregation in Salem proved it. Indeed, he was a person worthy of love and compassion and respect. And I had not realized how this prayer we had offered to this dear man had so deeply affected him. This man whose heart had been beaten down and broken, and whose worth demeaned, such that life had fixed his face into a bit of a grimace. Yet we saw beyond the grimace and embraced the goodness of the man. It was the healing affirmation that his soul yearned for in his hour of distress. And that is what this congregation gave to him. Blessed be. Let us enter into a time when we reflect upon the role of compassion in our life. What opportunities do we have day by day to offer compassion to those closest to us, to the animals in the world around us, to our neighbors and our friends? If we can abide in the mind state of compassion, we will be so much more of a blessing in their lives. And we also now reflect gratefully. None of us lives alone. None of us could survive alone. We are here by virtue of the love and support of so many. And I invite you now to call into your mind's eye all those who sustain you with their love and with their friendship and their support. Compassion and gratitude. This is the path that we walk day by day. May it be so. Amen. Last time I saw you was in a hospital bed. You're doing great. I'm glad to have you back.
Thank you. Hi, I'm Carrie Lynn, and I am one of your Lifelines lay ministry. We have one joy, and it's kind of awkward. And where did it go? Oh. Eric Schumann put in, nothing makes your Lifelines ministers more grateful than having Carrie Lynn back with us in good health. Thank you. Lifelines ministers are members who extend an extra hand to help Reverend Rick reach out to members and friends of the congregation who are experiencing loss, illness, or any type of personal or family crisis. You can reach us by visiting the new Lifelines table in the fellowship hall, or contact us at the email on the screen. You can also put your joys and concerns in the book in the foyer before church or online. And I wanted to mention that next week is Compassionate Connections. So if you have something you need to talk about, if you'd meet us in the front of the sanctuary right after church, we will have a little love session is what I want to call it. So with that, have a great day.
As one of your Lifelines lay ministers, I want to say that I believe this church deserves its reputation of caring for marginalized and oppressed people like immigrants, our homeless neighbors, the poor, racial and sexual minorities. But how well do we care for one another? Well, Reverend Rick has shared with you Herb's story, the member who never felt he had been among a group of people who would spontaneously say, I love you, I care about you. And yet he was strong enough, and he allowed himself to be vulnerable enough to say, this is what I need. This is what I want. We were there for him. In a sermon delivered in the 1980s, I remember past UUA president, Reverend Bill Schultz, saying that when the church truly fulfilled its mission of love, it gave him the greatest feelings of pride and satisfaction in his ministry. But when the church failed, which it sometimes does, it made him sink into the depths of despair. As I reflect on 60 years as a Unitarian Universalist, I can recall both of those feelings myself. Consider how we in this congregation have fulfilled our ministry. Can you remember feeling pride in our humanity? Can you also recall profound disappointment? We can begin by judging our success right there at our front door, and again in the fellowship hall, by how welcome newcomers feel when they choose to visit for the first, second, or third time. Radical hospitality can be defined as the practice of putting extraordinary effort and emphasis on making people feel welcome. There are times visitors fail to return because of the feeling that they were ignored, that their presence simply didn't matter. Just as important as making visitors feel welcome is our caring for one another. It's not reasonable to expect that because we're good and caring people, that members and friends in distress will be supported in their time of need. Reverend Rick describes Lifelines as one of the 4 pillars of our church, the others being the connections groups, the homilists, and the worship team. Lifelines ministers are part of the fabric of this congregation, our job being to seek out and support individuals who could benefit from our ministry. It is indeed a privilege to do this work, to honor our UU values and our humanity, and I consider it a privilege myself to work alongside these wonderful people who share the dais with me this morning.
Hi, I'm Lorna Youngs, not Kathy Rao, and I am coordinating Lifeline's lay ministry. And we have asked members who are able to be here to kind of share a little bit about why they have become a member and what it means to them. So I'm sort of, first of all, I'll give you the names of who are the members. We have Eric Schumann, who you just heard of, and George Pitter with Kat, who is marvelous, has provided a lot of wonderful therapy for people who just need a little touch from an animal. Margaret Gregg, who is missing today, she's with her sister. Kathy Rowell, who couldn't be here. Carolyn Patterson, who did our Lifelines lay ministry, Joys and Sorrows. Joan Stembridge, who is still testing positive for COVID. And Lynn Cardiff, who is a member of everything. So let me tell you a little bit about why I came here. I came here in 2011, and I had not been to church never been a member of church. I was a scientist. I didn't think it was necessary to believe in God, but I was in pain, both mentally and physically. I had something wrong with me, and I had done the treatment treadmill. Nobody knew exactly what the problem was, and I was terrified, and so lonely in my house. And I came to this church just to find a place of safety, because I think you can't function unless you feel safe first. And I would sit here after a particularly touching sermon, and I would cry. I was well before the No Cry Zone initiative. I started crying, and I wasn't bawling loud, but I would sit there in tears, and I didn't feel that, oh, well, she's crying, so we need to leave her alone. Sometimes people would just touch my shoulder as they passed, but I was allowed to cry, and I didn't realize how much I needed to cry. And over time, I got a diagnosis, and I got some medical treatment. But what I got more than anything was a sense of acceptance here. And after that, a sense of community, of connection. And I'm not a outwardly extroverted person, and it took me a while to find some friends, but I found some really good friends, some of which have died since I came here. But it's that sense of connection that keeps me coming back. And then once you as a human being feel safe and connected, you have the ability to focus on something that gives you satisfaction, something that gives you purpose. And it isn't always George Struble tapping you on the shoulder and saying, well, you know, Lorna, would you be treasurer? It's not that big a deal. Thank you, George. But I found a sense of purpose as well in Lifelines, because I had been for years a manager in state government, and I had to keep a face on. I ran the DMV for 8 years. Can you think about how popular I was? I used to get, I don't remember that news guy that decided to have a right-wing talk show, and he used to rail against me quite frequently, and my daughter would come home and she would be all upset, and she'd say, Mom, why don't you do something about this? And I'd say, it's just part of the job. But what I didn't know was the toll that public face took on me. And here, I could be the softer side of Sears. I could allow the warmth in me and the caring in me be the most important part of me, not the public face. And so Lifelines gave me a very, very strong sense of purpose, along with being the treasurer and now the chair of finance. But the other thing that I have always felt, that it isn't just Lifeline's job. We have a welcoming committee that greets people when they come. But it's natural for once you get established in an organization or a group, after the service is over, you kind of sit with your friends, chat, catch up. It takes, as Eric said, a kind of movement outside yourself to include in someone who's new, to give them that sense of welcome, to give them that sense of acceptance, and if they need it, that sense of safety, which makes them grow and thrive, because otherwise you're at home and your mind is like a squirrel cage, just running and running. And I know that this congregation has done that and can continue to do that. Lifelines is here to deal with people who are in crisis or check up on the members who are homebound or need a little extra help. But it is everyone's job to make this place feel warm, accepting, safe, so that people can blossom. People can find their satisfaction and their purpose. Now, we have some members of Lifelines who are here, and before they talk about why they've become a member, I'd like to read to you what Kathy Rowell has brought. When she first came to UUCS, she was immediately drawn to the compassionate connections. As a practicing Buddhist, she recognized there is a lot of suffering in the world. Compassionate connections gives people a chance to be heard and to receive healing and caring from our community. That is, of course, the ritual that we have every second Sunday of the month. Every time she came to church on the second Sunday of the month, she would go up front and participate and offer support. She also used compassionate connections when her friend Joan Erickson died, many people's friend. She was in shock when she found out. Her death was so sudden. And she went into Reverend Rick's office with 2 other members who also loved Joan. And being able to talk about her death and what she meant to us, and then to sit in the middle of the circle and receive the love and healing touch of the support group, it really, really helped. She has seen others as well being helped by Compassionate Connections. Compassionate Connections is honestly what led her to become a member of UUCS. It's a very unique church, and Compassionate Connections is a really vital to what the church does. She's also glad that we have a fellowship table every week because people need to support more than one time a month. Thanks to Reverend Rick and all the other members of Lifelines for letting me be part of this special group. And this is from Kathy Rowell. And now, Carrie Lynn, if you'd like to come up.
Hi, I'm Carrie Lynn Patterson again. I've been in this church just about 50 years. And so the growing up here and getting to know everybody has been wonderful. Why was I drawn to Lifelines Lay Ministry? First, there was a need. Second, I like reaching out, providing an ear, and sharing kindness. One minister cannot do it alone. It takes a fellowship. I'm just one part of that fellowship, and so are you. I look forward to my future experiences with Lifelines Lay Ministry. Thank you.
Hi again, I'm Annie Jocelyn, and I started coming to UUCS about 4.5 years ago. I hadn't been to church, except for the occasional service with my parents, in over 20 years. Like many of us who start going to church later in life, I had some really hard things going on, and I needed to remember that there was still good in the world. I found a lot of good here, you should all know. Fast forward a few years, or to just over a year ago, and Reverend Rick gave a very heartfelt homily. I don't recall all of the details, but I remember that it brought so many feelings to me. As some of you know, I have been a ballet teacher in Salem for almost 20 years now. I teach ages 3 to adult. I see all kinds of things in my students. Sometimes I'm really lucky and I have them for like 10 years. And they will come over to me because their family is going through a hard time. Their parents are getting divorced. They are losing their home. They are having troubles with friends. Their parents lost a job. Somebody had a baby sibling die. I even had a student a few years ago who, she wasn't in my class, but at age 5, she was diagnosed with cancer, and a couple years later, she lost her life. It turns out that my job is a lot more than just teaching ballet. I am not just a mom to my own 3 children, who you guys see me here with all the time. I am a second mom to a lot of other students that I teach here in Salem. I am humbled that many of them call me their second mom. To me, the most important thing in the world is love. Everyone deserves to feel loved, and they especially need to feel loved during hard times. I've been lucky in the hard times in my life. I have had family and friends that have been there to catch me. I know that not everyone in the world is that fortunate, and sometimes one person can make a difference. And in so many ways, I feel that what we do at Lifelines is a lot like what I do a lot, and I really love my job, and so I'm here too. Thank you.
I have to get him parked first. I'm George Pitter, and my wife and I started coming here in 1994. And what we found here was a connection. And it didn't take very long. And she jumped in right away and got into the building committee, the committee that facilitated this place. And later on, she was a facilitator at the Lifelines. And she kept telling me, she says, you like to talk to people, you like to hang out with people, come on, why don't you join, why don't you join? So that got me into it, and it's a good group, and I'm glad I'm here. I like to talk to people, and it's not too much different than what Eric and I do at the hospital or with hospice. Sometimes people just need somebody to listen, and just a little bit of comfort, and a little bit of contact, and we love what we do. So I don't know what else to add to that.
I can't tell you how wonderful it makes me feel to be able to share the ministry with the Lifelines lay ministry people. I would like to ask if they would just stand over here or stand up where you can be visible for a second, because I wanted to just say a little bit about this, and I wanted them to be visible to you in Mass, because they're quite a group in Mass. It's been a hard week physically, though, because some of us are not here for health reasons, but also traveling. But I did want to have you notice that they're here and they're wearing something. I'll tell you about that in a second. Our ministry must be shared or it will perish. Our mutual commitment to one another calls for us to share our ministry of compassionate presence widely and freely. These members of our Lifelines lay ministry are wearing the green stoles skillfully sewn by member Leslie Zygon. Why don't you stand up, Leslie, and get some recognition? She did these beautiful stoles for us. And we asked the Lifelines members to wear these stoles when they're here. We used to have a lavender badge and no one noticed it. You'll notice the green stoles. We want you to be able to recognize so that these wonderful people will be a visible presence among us. They are here to listen, to be present with you during the hard and challenging times. They are lovely, wonderful people, each and every one, and we are grateful to you for your willingness to serve. Equally important, they are here to remind all of us that caring for one another is indeed all of our shared ministry. Thank you. You guys can sit down. Yeah. Just like to invite you into a period of quiet reflection now. Give you the opportunity to center yourself in this moment. Breathing deeply. Being present with yourself. Learn to be compassionate to yourself. It's one of the hardest lessons to learn. Learn to be compassionate to yourself. And let that compassion spread out around us. The caring and connection. Each time we make a new connection, it strengthens us all. Amen. Blessed be.
I am grateful to you, UUCS, for the opportunities and good times I have had here. I enjoy helping to make good things happen. You too can have great satisfactions, but you have to invest yourself in it. To get the most out of it, accept an assignment that needs you and agree to yourself to do whatever it takes. Whatever it takes. And when you have committed yourself, you make it easier for others to join you and do their part. And when you see somebody else doing whatever it takes, support them. We're now in a pledge campaign. Similar principles apply. We all want to belong to a successful organization. We have to make it so. We have a history of rising to the occasion. Let me give you an example. 30 years ago, we had a capital fund drive to build a new church. We were a small congregation at that time. We brought in John Gibson as a consultant to help us figure out how. And he taught us how and gave us confidence. And one of his messages was, don't ask people to give until it hurts. Ask people to give until it feels good. Meaning, it feels good that you know you are doing your part. That's what feels good. In that campaign, we raised $260,000. That was in 1994 dollars, mind you. And we went ahead and prepared to build. We found it wasn't enough. What to do? We had a major gift campaign, and consider it a stool. It had 3 legs. One was a sacrificial gift, $10,000 from Rick Davis. That was money he had been saving to buy a new car. That led to a $50,000 check from Laura Wells, who I think was 100 years old at that time. And then that led to a challenge pledge, $1,000 for every $5,000 that other people would contribute, including the $60,000 I've already mentioned. We asked our members for $5,000 or more, and 33 members did. We raised another $260,000, and we were able to build this church. We need a similar spirit this year. In the last few years, we did not raise enough pledges to cover our expenses. One member complained to me about our congregation relying on large pledges. We have never had large pledges. I learned a few years ago that the Eugene Church had 3 pledges that year of $20,000 or more. To my knowledge, we have never had one. I understand that last year's average pledge was around $2,500. The largest was somewhere around $14,000, and there were others in the $8,000 to $9,000 range. We have a challenge pledge this year of $1,000 for every $5,000 of pledge increases, to underscore that we need pledge increases. Let's earn that. Consider your own circumstances and your place in our congregation. Are you among the members who ought to be over the average? If so, make a substantial increase and help earn the challenge. And I'm not just talking to you, I'm talking also to the people who are watching on YouTube. You're part of this too. So all of you, we need increases to fund our expenses. And at stake this year in particular is the quality of our next minister. Unsuccessful congregations do not draw the best candidates. So please step up, make good things happen. Thank you.
Call Gloria Holland.
Hello?
Hi, this is Ben Cavaletto from UUCS. Thank you for taking my call.
Oh, sure. Hey, Ben, what can I do for you?
Well, first, I'm calling with a big thank you. I have notes here from our stewardship committee that say you have pledged every year for at least the last 5 years.
Mm-hmm.
They're calling you one of our long haulers.
Well, that's very nice. Yes, we've been pledging since about 2008.
That's amazing. We're blessed with a lot of long haulers at UUCS. Actually, I've got a list of 66 households right now that have pledged every year in the last 5, but haven't gotten around to pledging for 24-25.
Oh, that's not good.
Yeah, I know they'll probably get around to it, but it's the last week of the pledge drive, and some of us are getting a little nervous.
You bet, yeah. Well, what can we do about it?
Well, the best thing we can do is make a few friendly phone calls like I'm doing right now, wondering if I can help you get your estimate of giving form filled out for this year.
Oh, no worries. I just pulled it up on the website and I'm filling it out now.
That's wonderful, thank you. And just a reminder that we're still pulling out of a COVID deficit and making plans for hiring a new minister, so it means a lot if people are able to raise their pledge this year.
Oh, yeah. I thought the church was doing fine.
Well, we're not going under, if that's what you mean, but we have been tapping into reserves for the last few years, and this year, if we don't increase our overall budget, the board gets to make some uncomfortable decisions about what areas we need to cut. There isn't a lot of discretionary spending to choose from. Paying our lovely staff with a well-earned, livable wage represents our biggest expense.
Oh, goodness. Well, we saw the Fair Share Guide, and we are upping our pledge.
Oh, thank you. Yes, giving a percentage of your income is an incredible gift. A couple years ago, I calculated 5% of my income.
Ooh.
I couldn't start giving that immediately, but I kept upping it over a couple of years, and now I'm there, and it feels like I'm living into my values.
Well, definitely. Anything else we can do to help?
Yes. The Stewardship Committee is hosting a couple of phone bank sessions Monday and Tuesday night this week here at the church, 6 to 8 p.m. We're going to provide calling lists, scripts, and support. Volunteers should bring their own phones. If we have 11 volunteers, we could probably reach all 66 of those long haulers in just 1 hour.
Okay, I'll be there.
Oh, that's awesome. Thanks, Gloria.
Okay, bye-bye.
If any of you can be there, I'll be in the fellowship hall after church. I'd love to hear from you. I'll take your RSVP and we'll get you connected. Thanks so much.
Thank you, everyone. Boy, we've heard from a bunch of people today, and I hope that it's all been positive as you understand all that goes on in this congregation and all that we're asking you to support. Most people come to church for some sort of validation or inspiration or some way of getting support, a friend, to belong. But as you've learned from today's service, the church needs your support as well. And so now this is the time we ask you to support the church so that all who enter this sacred space may always have an opportunity to benefit from our congregation and the ministries. It is our custom here to share our blessings. This month, we're supporting the Partner Church Fund. Funds donated today will contribute to scholarships that support UUCS members who want to take a pilgrimage trip to Shimanvalva as part of our Partner Church program. We also support, as always, the Marion Polk Food Share, and don't let the fact that the wagon looks full to you discourage you. Believe me, the shelves at Marion Polk Food Share are very able to handle as much as you can contribute, and we also accept financial donations. You can contribute today during the passing of the baskets or by using that cute little QR code that was on the form that you got when you first entered church this morning, or through our website at uusalem.org. Thank you so very much for your generosity.
I am so glad we have homilists. Those are, I think there's 10 or 11 of them, and folks who have come through the same training I received in theology school for delivering sermons and stuff. They are wonderful people. So please do come next week to hear Nadine. I think this might be your first time as a homilist to speak from the pulpit, Nadine. I don't see you where you're probably back somewhere. Oh, there you are. There you are. Anyway, she's got a wonderful sermon. I strongly encourage you to come hear her and show your support that way. Let's see what other announcements we have up there. There's a bake sale today, right after the service, so get out there and buy something so that they have a chance to go on their retreat at the end of June, and you have a chance to have something good to eat today. So if you do, especially if you're a regular member here, you're probably getting all this on your email already, but if you're new here and you haven't connected up, it's possible to get our email and a Friday e-blast, things like that, that will fill you in on what's happening here. It doesn't cost a dime, just connect in. And you can find out how to get that hooked up right there, right in front of you. And I think that's it for me. Thank you.
So, Reverend Rick, I'm going to ask you to get the social justice lantern. And we light this social justice lantern every week. And it's lit from our community chalice. It serves as a symbol of all the light and warmth that each and every one of you take out into the community through your good works. And thank you for that. As we extinguish the chalices we lit earlier this morning, please kindle a flame in yourself. It's an unquenchable flame that reminds us to be kind, to be just, to be merciful, and to be compassionate and grateful. That is how we keep our flame glowing until we get to gather together again.
Oh, yeah, sorry. Thank you.
See, it takes a community, guys.
Our closing hymn is number 331 in the gray hymnal, or it will be up here shortly. Life is the greatest gift of all. Life is the greatest love of all, the riches on this earth. Life and its creatures, great and small, of high and lowly birth. So treasure it and measure it with deeds of shining worth. Mind is the greatest gift of all, its thought no barrier mars. It seeks creation's hidden plan, its quest surmounts all bars. It rains the wind, it chains the storm, it rains the outmost stars. We are the life, its shining gift, the measure of all things. Up from the dust our temples lift, our vision soars on wings. For seed and root, for flower and fruit, our grateful spirit sings.
If you are not ill today, please go ahead and join hands with your neighbor. And join me. Oh, we missed that countdown slide. Let's look at that real quick. We're going to be adding these slides as we get counting down to the sad day when our beloved Reverend Rick will be leaving us. And so we're going to put in little quotes of things that Rick has said over time. And you might see some funny ones and some inspirational ones, but This is time. Unconditional positive regard, love, and support. That is the energy from the sacred mystery. So, now, would you all join me in saying our closing words, please? May
faith in the spirit of life, hope for the community of earth, and love for the sacred in one another be ours now and in all the days to come. That was